Okie dokie. Oh, this is right in my face.
Yeah, I can't see either over the mic.
Well, you don't need to see us
I know.
in the OBS. I'll figure that out later. Okay. Hello.
Hello.
This is the Brooke. And she's been on other Nostalgiathon stuff, but first time on the podcast. Brooke, talk about yourself.
I'm Brooke. My tag on Twitch is Llama Drama 2. I don't stream regularly at all, but when I do stream next, it'll probably be Darkest Dungeon 2. I enjoy a lot of strategy and survival type games, and I like a lot of roguelites, and open world games confuse me.
Which is sad because I like open world games. So, we have a cat.
We do have
Specifically,
a cat.
it's your cat.
It's my cat. His name is Palm. His name is Pomegranate.
The podcast has seen him before, but
yeah,
I don't think I've talked about him. I think I've just been like, here he is.
He's a beautiful little black cat. He's a little void. And he's very angry.
All the time.
He's pretty angry. But I feel like I liked dogs super much growing up. Like, we had a ton of dogs. We only had one cat. And I was super into dogs. And I got a cat just because I was like, I can't have a dog in a dorm room, but a cat can survive there. So that's why I got a cat. And now I am obsessed with cats. And my TikTok page is full of cats. If I see a cat in a video game, I go nuts. I've got to be friends with that cat. He's turned me into a crazy cat lady.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
He turns you just crazy.
Yeah, he turns me into just crazy. Primarily because most of the time he's fine, 99% of the time. But it's when I want to sleep, he's just like, I'm gonna smack your foot really hard for like 10 minutes. He runs up to the bed and just goes wham, and then I sit up and he just goes.
I think it's funny because I'm only 5'3", so he's never been in a position where he's seen someone's feet be at the edge of the bed. And Chandler practically hangs off of it.
Yeah.
So he sees his feet at the end of the bed and he's like, what the heck are those? I've got to play with them.
And it's not fun.
It's fun for him.
Well, it's not fun for me. Sorry, I'm changing the focus because I think we're out of focus. That should hopefully solve that issue. Yep. Better. Yeah. Pom's something else. We need to get him food at some point again because the tub of food is running a little bit low.
We got to get him the IAMS one because we want to get that indoor cat food for him because it's supposed to help with hairballs, and he doesn't have hairballs that much. But when he does, they're disastrous.
It's pretty gross.
Yeah.
So, but yeah.
You had a thing you wanted to open with that you didn't.
Yeah, I did. I kind of forgot.
Okay. Well, do you want to talk about it now?
Sure. So, guess what? We have actually planned the day and figured it out and kind of like set the actual time for Nostalgiathon Winter. It will be taking place December 10th through the 12th, from 4 p.m. to 4 p.m. U.S. Central Time. And yeah, I need to have everyone actually submit their games still. Matthew's done it, but
are we just doing any game, any nostalgic game you want? Or
Matthew is playing he talked about it on his stream, so I don't mind doing it, and I've already approved it. But Matthew is going to be playing Deltarune Chapter 2, and he's going to be doing a full genocide run of that.
Okay, so it's
kind of just whatever.
Okay.
So.
Well, I still kind of want to play Zelda, but I could play, you know what? I'd be down with doing some Bloons Tower Defense for Nostalgiathon. That's a nostalgic game.
It is.
So, that'd be fun for me. Except for if the chat doesn't like what I'm doing, in which case I will feel so stupid.
I don't think that'll be an issue, but
it might. It happened with Storybook.
Well, I don't think it'll be a problem with Bloons because while there is like a perfect way to do maps, it's not a thing, you know?
I think you know what it is though is that there's a lot of strategy involved with optimizing what units you're putting out and what path you're upgrading them on.
Yeah.
And my strategy tends to be I want one of every single unit and every single upgrade path. And honestly that tends to work out pretty well for me.
I do that when I'm trying to unlock the stuff because one thing I hate is the fact that it doesn't really either I haven't done it very well or it doesn't cloud save very well. So like I have to keep restarting whenever I re-download it. And
well, you have to make like a account with them to do it.
And but it becomes a big old pain.
Yeah.
So I just like put down one of everything that I possibly can and just let them go.
I like it. I honestly like playing like that though, because there's still strategy involved with like, because like I'll think like this is the first group that I have with a village, right?
Yeah.
And it's like the first group as in like it's closest to where the Bloons come out.
Yeah.
So what do I want there? I want a ton of my Moab focused units in that group. And then in the second group I want a lot of my more like focused on being able to take out a lot of Bloons at once. And then the last one is just everyone else, which a lot of times is still really powerful Bloons, or really powerful towers, monkeys. But there's still a bit of strategy involved with where you're placing them and which upgrades you're putting where, you know?
For me, the last time I played a lot of Bloons was back when 6 was not out, when it was only Bloons Tower Defense 5. And when I was just like trying to get down only a few towers that were really strong, it would just be Ninja Monkey, Wizard, and Glue Monkey. And like those three would be... I would occasionally put snipers and obviously the cannons for the Moab maulers, but everything else I was just like I didn't really do ships that much. I didn't mess with the normal monkey. Boomerang monkey I would occasionally get, but not very often.
Speaking of the ships, I had never, even in Bloons Tower Defense 5, like the kind of equivalent that was this upgrade path in that one, I never appreciated the upgrade that you can pull the Moabs into the ship and just demolish them instantly. I never appreciated that as much as I actually needed to.
I think
because right now I always bring it out.
That's an active, isn't it?
It's an active, but I buy a tech bot and put a tech bot on it, so it just automatically activates.
Gotcha.
And it automatically pulls the strongest one on the screen in. So.
Yeah. I would another thing I would always do in 5 is the shredding, the shredders. And I would just upgrade those to, I would get like 4 of them, and I would just upgrade those to the ones that can...
The shredders are honestly one of the only reasons I still have 5 on my computer. Because I love playing with them so much, and they're not in 6.
Because they were overpowered.
They were,
and they split up the abilities into other monkeys as well. So like, one of the things that you would do with the shredder is when it shredded a balloon, it would shoot it further back up the line, and it could shred it again later, you know? That basically, they were just like, that's redundant because of the wizard monkey. The sucking and the Moabs, they added that as the ship active. So,
and they put a knockback effect as an option on Super Monkey too, which I don't think he had before.
So it was pretty overpowered. So
yeah, I get that, but I'm still sad it's not in 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a map that's the same on both?
Oh, there's a couple maps that are the same.
Like the exact same?
Yeah.
It's like do a thing where it's just like you have both Bloons Tower Defense 5 and 6 open and just like place the same stuff on each side and see like
that would actually be really fun. But you can when you're playing 6, you can pretty well tell which maps come from the earlier games and which map come from 6, because when you put a sniper monkey down, if the sight is blocked somewhere, then it comes from 6.
Yeah.
But if there's no real sight blocking, then it's from an earlier game.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm trying to remember stuff about Bloons because like I haven't played it in forever. I don't know. That's what you've been playing right now. You did play a lot of Storybook, and recently you've just been playing a lot of Bloons.
Playing Bloons, and just in the past couple of things, I've started really playing Darkest Dungeon.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was playing a ton of Storybook. Well, that's what happens. When I feel like I'm finally learning something and performing easily achievable achievements in a game, I get super into wanting to play just that then.
Yeah.
And so for Storybook, I was going up in the rankings a ton. It was every day I was going up a ranking.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily that stopped happening, but it was just that you got me the tablet, and I wanted to play games on the tablet, and I started playing Bloons, and then I was like, well, now I just want to play Bloons. I want to start a new save on my computer and just be able to upgrade all the Bloons.
Yeah.
Like, unlock them, because that gives me more dopamine than if they're already unlocked. And then now it's just Darkest Dungeon because I love Darkest Dungeon. But
it's a good game.
Yeah, it is a good game. And it's weird because there are pretty accessible achievements in Darkest Dungeon. Every time you leave a run, you die or you abandon the run, you get XP and you unlock a ton of items, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I have not paid attention to those items at all. I've been paying attention to the characters I unlock, but that's not every single run, and it honestly doesn't really matter to me. If I've found a team balance that I really like, I will continue to use that team balance until the characters annoy me enough, and then I'll switch it up. So it doesn't matter if I unlock a new character. It just matters once the team balance I'm using is over. I'm over it.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a game that is early access that just came out. What are you hoping that they add to it?
I don't know. I guess first of all, the most annoying thing right now is the lack of actual healing abilities. There are plenty of opportunities to heal with the Plague Doctor and with combat items and with like the leper having a self-heal and everything. There are opportunities, but it's not to I want to be able to have a healing focused character. And if she's not giving heals, she's giving buffs.
Yep.
That's what I want. And that's what the Vestal does. And I don't know if she's in it yet, and I just haven't unlocked her. I have gotten pretty far on the unlocks for characters, but I might just not have unlocked her yet.
I know not every character from the last game is in.
Yeah, I know that. There was a lot of them, and there's only like 15 characters on the sheet or whatever. So, I'm really hoping they continue to add new characters to the game. I hope they keep some old ones. I hope they keep Vestal, which I haven't seen yet. I hope they keep Houndmaster, who I haven't seen yet. And I hope they have some form of the Arbalist, who I haven't seen yet. But I hope that they continue to add new characters too, because the Runaway, when I first played her, I was like, I don't really like her. I don't think I get her. I don't want to play her. And then I used her in a different team dynamic because I just didn't know who to put there. And all of a sudden I was like, oh, she's actually like very useful to have. And honestly, I had her in a position where she could only just attack the back row with fire. And I only had her using that. And she was She was doing some work, so... You know what? Also Shield Breaker. Just because of her... If they
That
don't
was a
even have to...
DLC character.
It was a DLC character. They don't have to necessarily add her. I want them to add someone that had her type of movement and skills. And I guess, you know what? The Runaway kind of does, but the Shield Breaker was very much a front row unit, and the Runaway's more like the Grave Robber, who she goes between the back row and the front row a lot. So
yeah, having characters that can move themselves during attacks is really good.
Yeah.
To an extent, I guess. Sometimes it's annoying because you want them to stay in a spot, but having the ability to like get back to the location that you want them in
Without missing out on it.
Because who is it? The dude with the pistol.
The Highwayman.
Yeah, the Highwayman can move himself forward and backwards with attacks, and generally you want him in first and second position, so if you can keep him there, he can do a lot of damage.
That's why like the team comp that I'm using right now is the Highwayman and the Leper in the front two positions. Because the Leper can attack from the front or the second. It doesn't matter. All of his attacks work, pretty much. Except for Purge. But I don't use Purge that much, except for if I actually want to clear corpses.
Well, and a lot of what he does is defend as well.
No. That's the Man-at-Arms.
No, I thought you could set up the Leper to, like, pull aggression to himself and then, like...
He can. Yes, he can pull aggression. A lot of his benefits come from really high damage and the ability to self-heal. Self-heal HP and stress, which is really good.
Yeah.
So. I also hope they add... I don't know if I just haven't unlocked it yet. That's very possible, because it would probably be super higher level stuff. I hope they add more interesting trinkets.
I very much feel like that's going to be something that they do.
Yeah, I know that they're going to, but that's something that I feel like is lacking right now that I don't have, because a lot of the like rarer trinkets that like you have to really work to get and everything are just higher resistances. You know, which I'm not really interested in. I'm more interested, like, there are ones that they didn't really have in the first Darkest Dungeon that was like, on a kill, you have a chance to get another attack.
Yeah.
And that's super cool. But there's only one of those, and there's not really anything else.
Yeah.
So, and also I know that they're going to do more stuff with the Dark Impulse stuff. Right now, there's like
that's the trinket that's like it sacrifices one of your trinket slots for another trinket that requires it being there.
So that the trinkets that would be there are like stronger trinkets. Yeah, I had one that was like, it added like, I think a 3% plus 3% crit chance, which is still pretty good.
Yeah.
If I had a Grave Robber, I would have put it on her, but I know they're gonna do more stuff with that Dark Impulse stuff, because even if it's just more trinkets that it allows you to use, right now there's only like 1 or 2 trinkets that match with it that are really worth sacrificing a trinket slot to use them.
Yeah.
So. Yeah.
It's also very different than the first game, because you don't... It's basically one continuous run with a set of characters, like your singular group, instead of going into various like dungeon crawling sections.
It's on the way that it's kind of similar. I think this was just a strategy to play it, and not everybody played Darkest Dungeon like this. But typically in the first game, you would have set teams.
Yeah.
But it's just those set teams would be at different levels, and you wouldn't want to level them past a certain point so that they could go into certain areas that you wanted.
Yeah.
But
well, it almost feels like the first game was very much more like a resource management game compared to this one.
I think that's actually reversed. The first game, it was a lot easier to resource management than in this game.
I'm not saying that it necessarily is easier or harder to manage your resources. I'm just saying that, like, I think the first one has more of a
maximizing the amount of loot you can get without.
The resources seem a lot more important in the first game than this one, from what I've seen.
Yes, and I think in following that train of thought, one of the biggest instincts that I no longer need but has followed me into Darkest Dungeon 2 is that every time a fight finishes, I think, shoot, I did not extinguish my torch before the fight ends to get extra loot, and then I'm like, I don't need to do that, and also I really don't want to do that. We don't have any torches. And I think the first run, which I streamed, so it's on my Twitch channel. I'm pretty sure it was first run I did. I got shambled because the game doesn't show you quite in the same way when you have zero torch. And I did not realize I had zero torch. And then all of a sudden I was fighting the Shambler, and I was like, is this literally just a random encounter? Did I just run into the Shambler out of nowhere? So torch management, I think the dynamic between torch management and the loathing management has been very interesting in terms of what you have to choose.
Yeah.
Because also I'm running into the problem that I run into in a lot of strategy games, where it's like when you watch other people play it, they're going a lot to academic study, Heroes Shrine, Field Hospital. They're going to all those other places that don't help you with either of those important resources. And I always feel like I'm not in a place where I'm secure enough to go to that. I am secure enough to do it, but I just don't feel like I'm like, oh, my run's not strong enough for me to be able to go and fight a lair right now, So
I think the biggest changes come from what I would almost consider like an idle heal that happens when your characters. So as you're driving, if you hit things, which isn't that difficult to do, you have the chance to heal and stress heal and stuff like that. Not always, but that helps a lot in allowing you to take more fights.
Yeah.
So.
And the way they changed stress around also, I really like.
Didn't they just update that again and change how stress works? You can't stress heal if they're below a certain stress level?
Yeah, I think, I'm honestly not sure because I didn't have Jester unlocked, and I wasn't playing the upgraded Plague Doctor thing that healed stress a lot before they changed it, but I am pretty sure now with the Jester you can't stress heal them if they have less than 5 stress points. And I'm pretty sure for the Plague Doctor it's less than, if they have to be 3 or less in order to stress heal them. But yeah, I'm pretty sure you were able to do that before. But I'm not finding it that hard to still be able to stress heal specifically with the Jester. I have gotten close at some points, and I also have not fought the big bad cultist guy with this team comp yet, so it will probably change when I fight him, but I haven't found it super difficult to keep stress manageable and handled, and keep relationships good, so
that's what's currently out that you're playing. What games are you what are you looking forward to? Because a lot of stuff has been pushed back to the last last 2 months of this year and the first 2 months of next year.
Well, I'm not sure a ton of the stuff that I'm interested in is coming out then.
Oh, I'm trying to remember whenever Frostpunk 2 said early 2022. I think they gave a rough estimate.
The thing is that I don't believe that, and it's only because the only trailer they have out still is basically just like a concept trailer. It's concept art in the form of a trailer.
Well, yeah.
So, and I'm really interested in it. It looks super cool, and I'm excited to find out what they changed. It looks like they add more. I'm guessing from what I've seen of the trailer, I think it's going to be that you can interact with the citizens more. It will still be like resource management and managing like the hope and the devotion or the hope and the discontent and everything in Frostpunk, but I think it's going to be you're able to have interactions with the actual citizens more.
Yeah.
Whether that's, training specific citizens up or down or whatever, or ostracizing one on purpose so that your people have someone to hate or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you see that in the trailer or something. So I think that'll be... And also, I'm really excited to just play a Frostpunk that has updated mechanics and everything, know? So...
Well, the thing about the first Frostpunk game is that there was a limit to what you could do, even in endless mode.
Yeah.
Is because you had a finite amount of space,
mm-hmm.
And a finite amount of resources. At some point, you literally just ran out of things to do.
Yeah. I think that'll still be the case in Frostpunk 2.
It depends. I feel like based on the trailer that I did see, I didn't really see. Because for people who didn't play Frostpunk, it's a city builder more or less. It's a survival city builder, and your entire city takes place in this crater more or less in an ice crater essentially. And there's a big heater in the middle.
The generators.
Yeah. There's a big heating generator in the middle. One thing that I didn't really see in that trailer was an emphasis on that kind of crater thing. And so I feel like they might be building it out into like it's like, and they even said, okay, so we survived the change. So like, are they trying, is it one of those things where it's like now you're building out and exploring out, so you're no longer limited by space?
Mm-hmm. That could be trying to actually like rebuild society and not simply have a survivalist city. That I think makes a lot of sense for where Frostpunk goes in the future. It makes me wonder though if it has similar mechanics like the storm, like you have to do a bunch of things before the storm. I mean, that's the big thing. I don't know how. I'd imagine maybe you have to build like a wall or something to keep a storm out, or something like that.
It depends, because it could be one of those things where they get rid of that entirely, and instead of something like a storm, you now have other settlements like raiding you, and you have to create defenses for yourself.
Honestly, that'd be dope. I'd be down for that.
I could see that being something that they add in.
That'd be super cool.
So
yeah, so I'm looking forward to Frostpunk 2. And I'm looking forward to things continuously coming out in Darkest Dungeon. But that's really the two things that I've been really focused on lately. So I guess Storybook is also continuously coming out with new stuff as well.
Yeah.
It's also in early access.
Yeah. And for people who have not played or seen Storybook, it's an auto battler card game. Think like Hearthstone auto battler.
Isn't that literally what auto chess is?
No.
What is
auto chess is like Dota.
Okay.
But it is an auto battler, but it's more similar to
yeah, you don't get or keep cards. You don't have a collection of cards.
Yeah.
It's more that you get and keep heroes. I think are they called heroes?
Yeah, I think so.
That have specific abilities that affect the cards that you have.
Yeah, and the reason I compare it to Hearthstone is because like in Hearthstone you choose a hero at the beginning of every battle, and they have a specific spell more often than not. In this case, that's your just native ability. that can affect stuff, and you basically draw cards from a deck, and you have a certain amount of money to do it, and it's good. It's early access, but it's free.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it by early access, I mean like it's good. A lot of what they're doing is just like making sure that things are balanced, occasionally adding a new card in, but there's a lot, and it's very well done. So.
Yeah. And it's exciting at where it is right now, because if you're learning how to play the game, and Sneaky Teak talked about this when he's a Twitch channel that we watch that plays Storybook a lot of the time, that like every time you play, the meta is just the tiniest bit different.
Yeah, after every update, and it's basically like
it's a whole new game that you're trying to play then.
Yeah, you have to try and get different cards and focus on that.
Because like I remember when I first started, sleigh builds were not that popular.
For me, it was when I first started, it was dwarves that were really big.
Yeah. And now dwarves
they're really big, but they're harder to get. That's the thing.
They're a hard run to get going, because, and sleighs are everywhere.
Yeah, because dwarves, you have to, at this point, rely on the dwarves that you will get on level 5 and 6 if you can get those, because everything else is just like a generic character.
Yeah, and it's not a ton of scaling with them.
Yeah, because before the character that was basically before that was the cornerstone of dwarves was a character called Princess White, and it's a play on Snow White. And she basically every single time that one of the dwarves died, she gained stats permanently. Now it's whenever you buy a dwarf, she gains stats, and that is what's the word? It's retroactive. So if you bought dwarves previously, she gained stats from that. So it's a lot harder to scale her.
And she doesn't get nearly as big as you need her to be
late game,
and also have a fully filled out board.
Yeah. So now, like the cornerstone is basically hoping that you have a couple angries and a way to activate them.
Yeah.
And angries, whenever he takes damage, he applies stats to all of the dwarves on the board.
When he takes damage and survives, he's got to survive the damage.
He applies stats to all of the dwarves on the board, and so if you have that with something that damages everything by like 1, it applies a huge amount of stats.
And if you can just get, like, there are some treasures you can get, or you can put spells directly on him, or put supports on him that just build up his health a ton, then you don't even really need to focus on his attack. You can, but you don't even really need to focus on his attack, because he's going to be giving a ton of attack to all of the other dwarves on your board.
But the thing is, you basically have to hope that you get him early level 5, or somehow like roll into him early. So dwarves are still possible. It's just a lot harder to do, and so less people take them now. And a lot of people now take sleighs. And when I first started playing royals, the princes and princesses were basically never played unless you were solely running basically a Romeo and Juliet. And the way that they work is if you have a Juliet on the board and she dies, when the Romeo dies, Juliet gets respawned with extra stats. And that was basically the only royals that people really held onto the board. But now it's like, no, there's
a multitude of royals.
There's a multitude of royals that you
viable.
Want. And the Ogre Princess is a really good early royals if you have some kind of support that increases her stats, because that allows you to get extra cards every single time that you
it's great economy
play. So basically every update there's a fairly large meta shift that changes things around. So it's good. Some of the heroes need different abilities though.
Which heroes would you want to change?
The giant.
Jack's giant is pretty.
Because all he is plus, was it 3 health?
I think it's plus 2 health.
Plus 2 health on your frontline units, which is not good. There's
It's
other.
great for like the first 2 rounds.
Oh yeah, okay. So
And
yeah, for the
then
first 2 rounds it's great,
afterwards,
but after that it's just like
it's not
it's not,
viable.
because there's other heroes where it's just like all of the good characters are +1/+1. Your monsters are good with +2/+2, and it's like at that point, you know, why are
Everyone's
you?
doing enough damage that the +2 you have on health doesn't matter
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, and yeah, it's not good enough to be a character.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the likelihood that you pick him if there's anything better is, yeah.
Yeah.
The only time that I've ever thought about picking him is when there's been like a Loki, and I'm just like,
I love playing Loki.
Loki's fun, but he's one of those things where it's just like he can also just completely screw you over.
To be fair, I've also never played Loki and gotten stuck on a bread roll.
Yeah. So what Loki does is he plays a different spell every turn, and spells are you can most of the time only play one spell a turn. So there's no spells in the shop, and he plays a spell. There's something called a bread roll, and it re-rolls the shop. So if you lock the shop and a bread happens, it rolls the shop, and so you don't have what you locked
So
for the
like
next
that
turn.
character that you were planning for, that you were like,
Wanting to buy.
wanting to buy, and maybe it was
Yeah.
cornerstone to your build, you don't get it anymore
Yeah.
because of
And
Loki.
even if you didn't lock, when he just rolls, that is a waste of a spell, because there's offensive spells, there's spells that increase your character's stats. When he just rolls, that's a waste, because you can't even look at what was on in the store previously to know if you would have wanted just a free roll anyways, because normally it costs a gold coin to roll.
Yeah.
But and so it's just a waste of a spell in a turn. So yeah, I I would change him to lower the chance of a roll happening, in my opinion. Um,
So you wouldn't necessarily change his
I wouldn't
ability.
I wouldn't change it or get rid of the ability to have a bread roll in it, but just lower the chance of it actually hitting that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so
Yeah.
there's other characters that I feel like should have better abilities, like Mrs. Claus having +1/+1 good, and Krampus having +1/+1 on bad. Those that again, beyond the first 2 turns, it's really not.
It's not doing anything.
It's not doing anything for you.
They should have something else that matches with their types, with good and with bad.
Yeah.
Um,
I feel like if they were to. It's difficult because there's other heroes that have abilities that I'm thinking of, like.
like, what is it? Pan's Shadow,
Yeah.
and Snow Angel. They both, their things could be interesting if they just were combined with
Yeah.
Mrs. Claus and Krampus. I don't know. What was I gonna say a second ago?
I feel like if they were to say, instead of just +1/+1 whatever, if they were for every evil character that you've upgraded, it applies +1/+1 to all of your characters or something.
Yeah, but that's basically Galahad, just specific.
Yeah. Although Galahad's only on royals, isn't he?
No,
that's Miri.
that's Miri.
Yeah. I don't know. It's
It's tricky.
turn some make it to where characters are like certain characters are evil. Then I don't know.
Maybe it could be. Maybe it could be an increased chance if you're Mrs. Claus for good characters in the shop, and if you're Krampus for evil characters in the shop.
Or Mrs. Claus could be like, dwarves are good now, because dwarves are generally neutral.
That would be good.
So Mrs. Claus could be dwarves are good, and Krampus could be dwarves are bad, and +1 +1
I also
bad,
think that
+1
there should
good.
be, they need to make a hero that is for neutral. Not necessarily like for dwarves, but there just needs to be something that gives you something for doing neutral stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
So the thing with neutrals is that there's not a lot of them.
Yeah.
Other than dwarves, there's a handful of animals. I don't even think that there's any treants. I don't think that there's any royals. There's a few level 5s and 6s. There's like shoulder fairies.
Shoulder
And
fairies,
those play off of both good and evil.
mages, Storm
Storm
King.
King is neutral and Worm is neutral. He's a monster. But like other than that, there's not much.
I mean, there's also, if they're planning on introducing more characters, it could also be they introduce more neutrals, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I just feel like some hero powers are not useful.
Why are you sitting with your arm like that?
I don't know. It's comfortable.
Yeah. I also think just like balance in general can be a really difficult thing.
I think
'Cause
it's
like,
harder the more people that you add to it.
you know what? I actually have an example of that in a different game
Hmm.
that's not an auto battler. In Oni, in Oxygen Not Included.
Mm-hmm.
So they're releasing just a ton of packs right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they came out with like the Rad update that included Radioactive is now at play in the game. That's something you have to account for and plan for and build for and everything. And it also can be useful, right?
Yeah.
And with that update, they also lowered the cost for solar panels. And it was also included that like in the Spaced Out, you had a room that teleported you to a different asteroid,
Mm-hmm.
and in that room, the wall in the back is made of glass. So you could destroy that and have enough to build, I think it was 3 solar panels pretty early on in the game. And that was just slightly balanced. They weren't planning for that, but it was slightly balanced with having to account for oxygen loss at being at the top, and then also there's a lot more radiation at the top of the asteroid.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't enough to truly matter when you were playing. And then what they did to balance it, I'm not upset about, but it's just they just made it so that the walls weren't made of glass anymore. Like you couldn't destroy them.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. And I guess it achieves what they wanted in the first place, which was that solar panels were more achievable, but it still had to be like a mid game thing to get them, you know. But they're releasing a ton of stuff right now, and I am getting super confused with all of the stuff they're releasing. I keep trying to, because I know the best way to really get it in that game is to just continuously play it, and you'll learn from continuously playing it.
Yeah.
But I always get up to a certain point, and then I'm like, I don't know what to do anymore.
That's the way it is with a lot of survival builders. It's just like play a run just to test things. You will either fail the run or restart it. And the next run, use what you learned.
Yeah. I'm thinking one thing that I'm gonna try the next time I play is one thing I have never used is I think it's called a thermo aqua tuner.
I don't know.
Whatever. It makes the water. It makes whatever liquid that goes through it colder, and you can use it to cool down your base to help account for heat. You know. It can use for other things, but that's
Yeah.
like one thing it's really used for. And I've never used it because I've always been nervous about the amount of heat that it puts off. But I think if I try and I just I like submerge it in some polluted water, I think it'll be pretty good.
I think it'll be fine.
I think it'll be useful if it runs through the base and then that polluted water goes back into where the thermal aqua tuner is,
Mm-hmm.
then it'll still probably be at least a little bit cool, and it'll help with maintaining. It's not a permanent solution, but I think it would work for a while. So,
I've never played Oni.
you've
And
watched me play it a few times, though.
occasionally, but all of that is still just like. So yeah, I don't play a lot of survival builders, and when I say resource management,
Mm-hmm.
I don't play Don't Starve, I don't play Oni. I played Frostpunk once.
And that has city builder aspects, and you like city builders to an extent.
I like city builders to an extent, but I like what I might consider peaceful city builders.
Mm-hmm.
Ones that like I don't stress out a ton.
Yeah.
And if something's going wrong, you have plenty of time
It's a little
and
more
warning.
forgiving.
Yeah, you have a lot of time and warning about that thing that's going wrong.
Mm-hmm.
When I like, the survival ones like Oni, you don't get much warning. It's like, okay, it's wrong. You need to fix it now or it's a problem.
Yeah, the things that can really be a problem, like oxygen and the heat in your base and like the power that you're making, you don't notice right away that it's happening. You have to be able to either constantly be checking them or be planning for the future about how you're gonna fix it before it breaks. So yeah. Like I remember there was one time, this was before I started using a guide for the early game in Oni, and now I have the guide practically memorized, and I just do that every time I'm starting a game. But it was before I had that, and I was getting pretty far into the game, or at least pretty far in exploring the asteroid I was in, because I didn't know how to do anything. And then I saw one of the duplicants had like an effect that was low oxygen, and I was like, what are you talking about? And I clicked on the oxygen filter, and like the whole area was purple, which means it was barely breathable. The whole area. And it's because I had run out of algae, and I could not find any anywhere on the map because I had already mined it all up.
Yeah.
So that's how that run ended. But I didn't even notice it was a problem until it was so much of a problem that I could not fix it in time.
Yeah. And so I don't play a lot of those. The builder type games that I play are like Planet Zoo and Planet Coaster, and most of the time in sandbox mode.
That's the difference, though, is that I think that's what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
In those games, you get to be super creative in what you're doing. You also have to be super creative to feel like you're succeeding in it. I am not super creative in the idea of building and designing things. So when I'm playing a game like Frostpunk that doesn't need me to really design stuff other than where I'm going to put stuff, then I do really well because I'm not having to like place a fence in a certain way I don't know how to. When I'm placing it, I have no idea if this is going to be aesthetically pleasing, and then I finish placing it and I'm like, it looks disgusting. Yeah.
So I don't know.
But you're good at that. You're good at the building things that look good.
Sometimes. A lot of the times I look at what other people have already done to do that. So
also, all you have to do is look at my Minecraft house and then your Minecraft house.
big old pyramid.
Yeah. It's got something to it, at least.
I mean, a lot of the time what I do in Minecraft is I'm just like what you like doing is, can I make something really big that has everything in it?
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what is the smallest and aesthetically pleasing thing I can make that can fit what I want in it?
And then have
And then have different buildings for different things.
I like it all to be in
hide
the
it.
same place.
And so, like, right now, my Minecraft house is hidden. It's underground. And there's like an area that's visible, and it's like a dock area and like a little garden area. And you have to like go down some steps, and then it's like a grand hallway with a bunch of stuff. But the part that's visible on the outside is all just aesthetically pleasing, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I think you know what, it's not that I don't want to, it's not that I don't think I would find being able to design and build things exciting. It's honestly just that I don't have the ability. I'll think I want this to be pretty to look at and not know how to do that.
Well, part of it's also like how we both play games, and that's given by the types of games that we do play. So you build for purpose. I build for looks, and that translates also into just straight up what we do in Minecraft. You do a lot of mining and searching for larger things, and at some point, once I've built everything I want to, it doesn't matter if we haven't gone to the end yet. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, once I've built to the extent that I want, all right, I'm good. Don't need to keep going.
I mean, it's also in that aspect they're adding like a ton of new things that fits into my type of play, but I feel like you would still enjoy. We've just got to get you to do them.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that I enjoy. I don't like going to the Nether and searching through the Nether. And the end, other than, I guess they added some stuff to the end now, but before it was basically just like, all right, go fight your dragon, and then you're done.
And then that's it.
And that's it. There was nothing else there, and so it was boring. But I like looking for villages, right? And I like looking for jungle temples and stuff like that. That being said, jungles are like near impossible to find anymore in Minecraft.
Here's the weird thing. A lot of the single player games that I've played, I've found them honestly pretty easily. I think it's honestly where we spawned.
Yeah.
And I've got to keep filling out maps until I find it.
Yep.
So, but we did find a mushroom biome.
You found a mushroom biome.
Yeah, well, I made the map to find it, and for some reason, no one else in this world values maps. I don't understand why you guys don't want some of my maps. They look really good on a wall.
We like maps, but I don't have a wall that I would put them on, to be honest.
Why don't you like my maps?
I don't need a map. I don't explore. I just build in my small area and I'm good.
Well, you're gonna need to. The way you get prettier materials is to go out and get them.
Nah, I've got them. Like, I like another thing I like that makes it very simple for me, and that I finish building stuff way before everyone else. Stone and wood. Good enough for me. It's all I ever use.
But amethyst is so pretty, and if I was able to watch you build with amethyst and put it like in an accent somewhere, I wouldn't build things with amethyst that look so gaudy. I would have an example.
Yeah.
But you don't build with amethyst because you don't want to.
Yeah, I don't. And I like the way that my house looks. That being said, we have a Nostalgiathon server for all the team members, and it's gonna go through a reset when this most recent update happens, because it's gonna drastically change how the world spawns things.
We're gonna reset the server?
Yeah, I'll put the map as a downloadable thing for people to just play with when they want. But yeah, when the new thing happens, because otherwise it's just like,
that's true. We'll have to journey a far bit.
Yeah, we would have to literally just completely abandon what we've already made and go an extremely far distance to, do something.
Is it gonna be a new seed?
No.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's
honestly good.
gonna be. Yeah, I'm gonna reset the world. I'm gonna literally. I'm just gonna like take the world file, copy it, make a backup so I can give it to everyone, and then just delete it. and then make it spawn another one. Because there's not a
better way to really go about that.
Yeah, there's not a way to say update the current chunks to keep the general structure, but increase the height, add the new materials. There's just not a way to do that.
Yeah.
So, because like there's a lot of underground stuff that we haven't seen, and a lot of chunks that are in between that we haven't like technically spawned yet, but it's it's all technically already been generated. And so we would have to venture out past all of those generated chunks to do anything.
Those are partly my fault.
It's not. It's just
you
generated a lot by creating
chunks.
by creating all of your really big maps. So I don't know. We'll have to do that because otherwise there's a lot.
I'm excited about that.
I am too. I'm sad because I really like my house. And
you're nearing the end though of what you want to be able to do with it.
It's true. So
you're nearing your end game. It'll be good to start a new one.
Yeah. Anyways, anything else you want to talk about?
I'm good.
All right. Then I think we're gonna peace out of here. And yeah, I mentioned a couple minutes in. Date for Winter Nostalgiathon is December 10th through the 12th, 4 p.m. U.S. Central Time. It's going to run 48 hours. I hope. The last one was supposed to as well, but some conflicts came up that made that very difficult. So, current plan is run 48 hours. Matthew, her brother, has already got his game in. Thinking that you're probably going to run Bloons. We'll figure that out.
I can run Bloons, and then I'm going to ask that off of work, so hopefully if you spread me out far enough and I'm playing games that I want to play, then I will be able to do multiple segments. So
yeah, and don't worry, I'm not going to do like what I did before and just put you on the night shift for 12 hours this time. I did that because I needed someone to do night shift.
You knew I would just take it like a man?
Well, I knew that you would be capable of just sitting there playing Twilight Princess for 12 hours at a time.
Matthew kept me alive for about 3 hours of it at the end, but...
Yeah. So, but no, that'll change, and Logan is another member that we have that's going to be able to play games. That's going to help a bit. Yeah. See y'all next time. Palm just meowed. Yeah, he's mad now. He's scratching at the door. He knows that we're about to end.
That's amazing. He timed that perfectly.
Yeah. All right. See you guys.